Yes, some lessons, not all of them, from crossCert. Two notes. First of all, I'm going to be talking about lessons, not methodology, not work packages, and so on. So directly to lessons, because I have 15 minutes only. Second warning, I'll be combining crossCert research with a sort of personal narrative, which is intended to be thought-provoking. You might find it mischievous sometimes as well. This is a first example of this combination of things. The first part is cross-set research. It is from one of the deliverables. The title and the prominence that I'm giving to this aspect is mine, actually. So it is my decision to bring this here and to start with this statement. EPCs are not popular. That is no secret. They are not usually understood by building owners or tenants. They are often seen as not useful, as bureaucracy. There is a RIBA report from 2021 stating that they are not consistent with actual energy use, and there is some other evidence of this. And that means that the trust is decreased. They are not homogeneous across countries. That is also from a RIBA report because of differences in calculation methods, data inputs, and so on. So they are impossible to compare among countries. So this is my mischievousness showing up. So EPCs are not popular, so what? Why should they be popular? And I'm hoping to answer that towards the end of this presentation. So as I said earlier, EPCs, as you know, serve multiple ends. In fact, some of them are in conflict. And again, I'll show that towards the end of the presentation. So you want to use them in real estate transactions. You want to use it personally in your home to improve your living, save energy, automate your home, whatever. You want to use it for energy policy making at the Euro level, at the national level. You want to perhaps use them as the nexus for bringing together different instruments in this ecosphere of the energy usage in buildings. So I'm going briefly to say the main things about all these four aspects. EPCs in real estate transactions, there you want perhaps your EPC to be accurate, so that you know the building you are buying is going to cost you in terms of usage for energy. You want to be able to understand the EPC, so you want them to be human-centric. We have a lot of deliverables in crossCert about this aspect. There is impact, as you probably know, that there is evidence that there is an impact of the EPC rating on the price of the asset, probably at as high as 10 to 15% in some countries. So there is an impact. We did what it is known as a performance gap analysis in our set of buildings, and the results are shown here to the right. There, what you have is the discrepancy between the EPC estimation of energy consumption and the actual measured energy consumption. Negative numbers means that you are spending less on energy than the EPC would forecast. So as you can see, generally the numbers are negative. So you are spending less than the EPC says. Two interesting things, I think. One of them is that you have very large discrepancies generally. It's not unusual to be 100% wrong in the EPC, even 200%. So even when you don't account for these outliers here, large discrepancies. And the second interesting thing is something that our colleagues from Heriot University found in this project, and that is that if you research how standardized or how tailored the EPC is, that is to say how much leeway the EPC assessor has in creating the EPC. Are they using just sort of standardized choices, or do they have to input values and estimate those values manually? So here you have countries which are more less standardized and more standardized. And the interesting thing is that the error you are getting, this performance gap, is not really very much correlated to the degree of standardization. You would expect to have more error here with highly standardized EPCs, that is to say, one EPC fits all, if you want to say it in one sentence, than here, where you're customizing the EPC to the actual building much more. And that is not happening. So that is interesting. But certainly, there are errors. And this is perhaps one conclusion. It is true that EPCs are very bad predictors of energy consumption. And that is hugely relevant for what we are talking about in this meeting today. EPCs to improve the building user experience. Perhaps you want to save energy. So you need to quantify your renovation options. What shall I change? The building envelope, the lighting, whatever. You may want to optimize your energy use, and you might want to integrate renewables. In fact, as I think that Pau said, perhaps this renovation options is probably the most important thing that you want to get from your current EPC. What do I need to do to improve this building? That's perhaps these days the most useful thing. I'll come back to that in a minute. For the other things, for instance, integration of renewables, the new EPBD will be very useful, of course. Automation, thermal comfort, indoor air quality, the new EPBD will be useful, no doubt, according to what we have seen in the previous presentations. Perhaps not decisive, I don't know, but yeah, no doubt it will be useful. So EPCs and quantified renovation options. This is the panorama in the countries that we tested in crossCert. What you have here is the sort of methodological aspects of these recommendations and the sort of quantified output you get from the certificate. And you can see that the landscape across these countries that we tested is very, very different. So in some cases, you'll use, or the EPC will use, the EPC assessor will use a list of recommendations, a standard list of recommendations, and they'll just highlight recommendations on that list. Some of the times they will ad-lib these recommendations, they'll just create them. Sometimes they'll use software to quantify the savings, which is very important, of course. Sometimes they won't. So a lot of very different methodological approaches here. An important note, if you want accurate estimations of energy savings and of money savings indeed, you need accurate calculations of energy consumption. And that is not always available, as we have seen. So perhaps, you know, monthly time stepping in your EPC calculation probably is not enough, and you have to go to hourly time step calculations or dynamic models if you want. EPCs for policy making, you want to use these two EPCs to do some policy making. For that, you need to have some homogeneous data among countries. And you need to be geographically fair as well. Both things are very, very complex. I'll show you some results from crossCert in a minute. As you know, this has been already highlighted. There is new categorization in the new EPBD of the building energy performance to provide more standard or uniform categories. So this is the results from crossCert, from this cross-testing exercise that I mentioned in my previous talk. We are taking a building from Malta, I said, and taking it to Greece, for instance, and test it under the Greek EPBDs. This is the sort of results you get. This is for energy demand for heating, which is perhaps not the case of Greece, but energy demand for heating in your own country and energy demand for heating in the same building when you take into a country with a similar climate. And again, you have some outliers, but the agreement is not perfect, but not bad at all, actually, considering, for instance, the performance gap that we saw earlier. So not bad at all, really. Then there is the question, of course, of how this translates into the energy category. And that is shown in this graph here to the right. So this is the building label in your own country, and this is the building label in another country that you are taking your building to be cross-tested in. I'll explain the graphics by saying that this 5, for instance, here, that 5 indicates your country, but as C in another country. That is not bad, actually, considering, again, what we have seen so far. Not bad at all. In fact, as you can see, most of the dark colors are around the diagonal, showing that the agreement is not that bad. So perhaps a conclusion here is that although this EPC system is not a particularly good predictor of energy consumption, the resulting categories are fairly homogeneous across countries, at least in our testing. There are many caveats to this diagram here. There's no time to go into them, but it is not as simple as the interpretation, not as simple as it looks, or as I made it look. But anyway, so a nice, I think, picture here. Databases are crucial, of course, for policy making. And here we looked at the contents and accessibility of databases in our countries. Red generally means bad and green means good. This is the information that you have in the database for building elements, for energy indicators, for recommended measures. And there you have some sort of accessibility rating that our colleagues at EREN created. And you have interesting things. For instance, the database in Spain are very accessible, but they have low quality information, red, yellow, and there is a red there underneath. So yes, accessible, but perhaps not particularly useful. And you have the case of Greece. Greece, you have greenish, green, but not particularly accessible. So the opposite situation there. Of course, the new EPBD is going to provide some relief here, particularly in one aspect. Countries need to upload to the database not only the result, but also the data they use to calculate the EPC. And that is crucial, we think. But accessibility has to be improved, we think, for research and policy making. We need to click on the slide so that I can, yeah, no problem. Yeah. Yes, no worry. So EPCs as nexus among actors. There we have seen in previous talks and the ones that will follow that perhaps we ought to consider these EPCs to be at the kernel of this ecosystem of tools. For instance, building renovation passports, detailed energy and financial quantification that you need to make decisions. You perhaps need also good EPCs to do smart readiness indicators or to do demand and production forecasts that you would need to participate in energy communities. Well, the bad news here is that generally you need more accuracy than the current EPCs will give you. That's our impression anyway. So current EPCs, we think, are not suitable as this nexus. They are part of the ecosystem, but they're not accurate enough to serve as this nexus. You need good quality predictions to do some of these things. Financing, for instance. I think, okay. So this is my first slide regarding conclusions. Here we have some sort of conflict. Perhaps we need, for certain things, we need accurate, customized predictions of, for instance, energy consumption. That's for some applications. For some other applications, perhaps you need something which might be less accurate, but it is more standard, more comparable among buildings, among countries, for instance. And that perhaps means that you need two kinds of tools. You need what we now call certificates. They are used for informing the real estate market. They are used for informing owners of measures they can take to improve the building performance, energy building performance. You use it for policy making, these certificates. And they are inexpensive, they should be, because they should be fairly universal. So they should be simple rather than accurate, perhaps. Geographically fair, that is what society demands. And compulsory as they are, or nearly compulsory, they should be. But that is not enough. You need more accurate tools, models, let's call them, BIM or building energy models or digital twins. You need that for on-site energy automation and optimization, for integration of renewables, for smart homes, SRI, etc. You need that for energy communities, for detailed economic calculations, which are crucial for financing one-stop shops, etc. Thank you. And features of these models, they need to be sophisticated, numerical models. They need to be accurate in terms of energy and in terms of costs. And perhaps they need to be not compulsory for certain homes. And that leads me to my final conclusion, which is that buildings, of course, are complex assets. Building energy decisions are the results of complex physics and complex economics, often involves, as we all know, very sizable financing. Perhaps one size doesn't fit all. We can cover all these different uses with just one instrument. So the general perception, and I go back to the beginning, is that EPCs have failed to deliver. I think that's fairly universal. And my mischievous comment is, well, so what? They have failed to deliver, but to the user, I mean, to the user, the building user. But why shouldn't they be just policy instruments? Or in the paraphrasing a very important person, ask not what your EPC can do for you, but what you can do for your planet. And that was my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Norberto. I'm sure that there are questions, but we will take them at the end.